Grab your colors and brush, and we'll make this easy sunflower painting today. Hi, guys, it's Kate. I'm working just with craft paint today. I had them out in handy, so I wanted to show a quick painting video of an easy sunflower ish painting. This is today's loose art journal page. So I'm just grabbing some paint. I am working with Tuscan teal, bright magenta, white, and wild iris from the Apple Barrel paints from Walmart. And I'm just dotting them over the page and then going over with a sponge to get them blended. I'm getting them nice and blended, but they have good texture still. The colors really work good together, and it kind of reminds me of sort of a purpley sunset. So once that dries, I'm taking my Tuscan teal and mixing it with a good amount of water to get a glaze going. And you could also use an acrylic medium that is transparent. And then I'm just going around a couple of areas on the page to give it just a little bit of a bluish overlay. And so just finishing that. And I'm at this point still deciding what I want to do. I just wanted to make sure that I had a lot of texture on here. So I'm just going to get that on the page first and then let that dry. But I definitely wanted to do something floral. So I'm finishing up. I just decided to go in 3 areas with that teal. And I like the way that's looking, just in the 3 spots on the page. So then I'm gonna go in with some gesso. I also had pulled out some titanium white. You could also use craft paint, but the gesso will let the background colors come through a little bit. So I'm taking a baby wipe and just gonna blot that onto the page, and kinda go in some circle motions to blend that in, but keep it pretty transparent. I wanna knock back some of the color, but not make it totally covered up, just kinda give it a little bit more of a cloudy look. So I'm just grabbing some more gesso and going over it with the baby wipes some more, and then I'm gonna let that kinda go, but then I will grab the titanium white, and I decided to do, a couple of sunflower-ish flowers. So I'm going over that, grabbing my brush. And the nice thing about using titanium white as kind of an almost an underpainting for your item is that it will really make it pop. It'll brighten it up and knock out the background so that the colors that you put on top of the white will really just be very bright and fully saturated. And so it prevents some of that background from coming through. So I'm doing just an easy, quick outline of a sunflower. I'm not doing a whole bunch of petals and stuff, um, but just sort of the basic idea of a sunflower. And I'm just going over, I'm not being, real careful with the petals or anything like that. I'm not making sure they are perfectly outlined or perfectly meet the center. It's just, very a quick outline. And I grabbed my favorite filbert brush for this. That thing has gotten so beaten up since I've started using it. And then after I finished this flower, I was kind of looking at it and thinking, I think I need another one. But I wanted to change it up a little bit. So I kind of put one in next to it, but facing away toward the edge of the paper after I put in this leaf and stem, of course. So I was kinda thinking at the time I did this that the second flower is mad at the first flower. That's what I like to think. They're not on speaking terms at the moment. And so I'm going to kinda make the back of the flower that's attached to the stem, and then I'll just make all the petals facing toward the outside of the paper. And I don't mind them kinda going off the edge, and it just gives kind of an interesting perspective on that. And then I'll put in one little petal that's kinda blowing up in the wind maybe or standing up. And so once I get that done, I'm going to grab a couple other craft paint colors. And I've got, for my flower petals, I grab the King's Gold. I'll grab some more white. I'll grab holly branch and burnt umber. And I also grab a tan color, but I don't actually end up using it. So I just kind of grabbed it just in case. So I'm grabbing the holly branch and the King's Gold and blending those a little bit. And I'm going to also add some of that burnt umber, which I had just put a little dab on there and it wasn't enough. So sometimes the craft paints, they don't really change a whole lot when you're mixing. So I had to add more than you might normally, with some of my other acrylics, you just add a little tiny dab and it darkens right up. But I just wanted to take back that brightness in the green just a little bit. But you'll notice going over the stems and the leaves, that white background of the titanium white also really makes sort of these automatic highlights and shadows, which I really like that effect too. So it just gives a new life to whatever it is you're painting. And you can kind of see the difference there because I end up adding a second leaf on that left sunflower. And you can see how the one on the left is just much darker looking. It doesn't have a whole lot of interest going on. It doesn't have the little whiteness of the highlight. So you can really see the difference there. So I'm going in with the petals with my King's Gold. And, the white really shines through that too. It just brightens up the whole flower. So I go around all of the petals with that. And then I will come back in and give it a little bit more shadow and some more highlights with my other colors. One thing I've kind of brought up in a couple of videos is sort of the use of a mother color. If you have a color that you're using in one element of the painting, sometimes it can look more cohesive if you add just a little bit to other colors that you use. So I try to remember that when I'm painting, and I'll kind of do that here with the burnt umber and also the green, which is holly branch. And I just love how bright that yellow comes out over the white. If I had painted that over the purple background, it would look completely different. So I'm also adding the yellow to the center of the sunflower just to give it a bit of a background. And then I'm going to come in with a little bit of that burnt umber mixed with white so that I can also get a bit of a tan color over the center. And then I'll come back in again with just the plain burnt umber for the seeds. And I'm just being kind of messy with my brush. And you can see I'm adding a little bit of that tan mixture to the inside of the flower petals just to give them some more definition. I mean, this is just a painting from my imagination, but it's a great way to practice, just adding different textures. That's what these things are for. So it really helps you kind of develop an eye and, try to see how you can improve. And so that's what I try to do with mine. So I really hope these videos help. Plus, they're just a lot of fun to make, and hopefully, you have fun joining me, or maybe you might get a couple of ideas. But I'd really love to hear some feedback, or if you decide to try anything, if it works out for you, or if you use different materials, I'd love to hear about it. I got a couple of comments on some of my previous videos, and I tell you what, it really just makes my day being a new channel. It's good to know that someone out there is enjoying what I make. So I appreciate it. Thank you. So I'm going over with some more yellow just to brighten up. I end up adding just a little bit of the yellow to the green on the leaves and the stems, just to add, like I said, just to make everything kind of cohesive. And I will also get a little bit of that green and mix it with the yellow and add it to the flower. So it's not enough to actually make anything green. It just adds a little hint. So you'll see I'm kind of going around just the outside of the petals and in a couple other areas with that same green color that I used on the foliage. And for me, it just added that little bit extra. And then that pretty much does it for this painting. I mean, it's pretty simple and quick. just a little bit of drying time for a couple of the layers so that they don't mix together. But I really hope you enjoyed this painting today, and hopefully you will do one too. So until next time, keep creating.